Google has just been ruled a monopoly. So how did we get here, and what happens now to Google and the internet as a whole? That's what I'm going to be explaining in this video. So let's get started. Okay, so to truly understand how this all happened and what might happen now, we need to go back to the Microsoft antitrust case. Whoa, not that far. This was in the 1990s. There we go. So, funny enough, this case was also about web browser dominance. In August 1996, Microsoft started bundling Internet Explorer with Windows 95. And like we learned in the last video, Windows has huge market share, even more so back then. So this basically meant it was everyone's browser overnight, because nobody really downloaded a different one. And even if you did, it would still be the default. And don't even think about trying to delete it. Windows would break. And computer manufacturers like HP were forced to have Internet Explorer as the default browser on their devices. One last thing they did is they prevented other browsers from accessing certain Windows features only Explorer had access to. For example, file management. And then they also prevented other browsers from running as efficiently. This didn't sit well with regulators, and in May 1998, the Department of Justice took action and filed a case against them. And in 2001, they reached a settlement, which required Microsoft to document these Windows features so other applications could use them. It required them to let manufacturers change the default browser on their devices, and it required them to make it much easier to switch your browser. After this settlement, especially when newer, better browsers started popping up, like Firefox, and then everyone's favorite Google Chrome, people quickly realized how terrible Explorer was, and it quickly lost market share. Okay, so now let's talk about Google. So, Google released in 1998 and had significant growth in 2004, and today has a crazy 89% market share. Okay, but when I was researching this, I thought, well, on my Windows computer, I downloaded Google Chrome just because it was the best. And I think a lot do the same. They didn't force me to do it, so how are they a monopoly? But then I thought about mobile, where Google definitely dominates. With a 96% market share, I couldn't think of a single smartphone that didn't have Google as the default search engine. And if you're thinking Safari or Samsung Internet, I'm sorry, but they both use Google too. Then if you download any alternative browser, for example, I use Arc on all my devices, they will also use Google as the default search engine. In the case of Safari specifically, Google is actively paying Apple 30% of what Google on iPhone makes from ads, which is around $20 billion per year. And just like Microsoft, they're bundling search in with Android, although manufacturers can change it. So I would probably say that I agree with them, especially because of their dominance in mobile, but that does leave me with one big question. What happens now? What happens now? So the case right now is kind of frozen and will probably take a few more years because a district judge just ruled that Google is a monopoly. That's why I'm making this video. But now Google says they're going to appeal it. This is a really complex process and there will probably be many appeals from both sides. But what I think is super interesting is what might happen now to Google and the internet. So let's assume the case stands. What are the scenarios that might happen now? I'm glad you asked. What? Scenario 1, they get fined. Now, this wouldn't be a small fine either. This would be billions of dollars. This is very likely to happen. Wait, what? Who are you? I'm you. Anyways, scenario 2, regulation of their business practices. So, this would mean many things, like not being able to make deals with companies to be the default browser on their devices, and not being the default browser on Android. This would also most likely mean that they would have to share more about how their algorithm works and how search works. That makes sense. It could also be a mixture of 1 and 2. I think that's the most likely scenario. Yeah, definitely. There's also one more scenario. Scenario 3, Google is split up. Now, this is the most interesting scenario to me, and I think it could actually happen. This might mean that Google the search engine, Google Chrome the browser, and YouTube would all be separate companies. Now, this would be by far the most drastic option. it could also be split up differently. And I'm sure there's other scenarios.
Take the script.
Fine. Now that I think about it, this case makes absolutely zero sense. And Google is definitely not a monopoly. Google is actually the best company on earth. Guys, nobody's gonna believe this.
Read it!
Okay. What I meant to say was, Google is actually the best company to ever grace our planet, and I would never make a video claiming otherwise. Anyways, hope you enjoyed. I'd be super interested to know what your favorite effect was in this video, so let me know down in the comments. And thanks for watching, subscribe, and I'll see you next month. Peace! Oh, you're still here? Well then, if you're down to watch more videos of me talking, you can watch my favorite video right here, and a video the algorithm's recommending you right here. Bye for real now.